Good afternoon, students of Chinese YMCA Secondary School. We are now going to play you the news clip from yesterday.
Welcome. Questions of a potential drug overdose are looming over an outdoor electronic music festival held at the West Kowloon Cultural District. 4 fans collapsed during yesterday's event. 1 of them died, and 3 others remain under intensive care. Elmi Leung reports.
This is what was left on the lawn after last night's music festival. Plenty of plastic cups, various wine bottles, and even a plastic medicine container. Some 8,000 fans filled the site at Nursery Park in the West Kowloon Cultural District when the Road to Ultra show ran from noon till 10 p.m. During the event, 4 people between the ages of 21 and 29 felt unwell and were hospitalized. Sources revealed all 4 are not related, but they felt dizzy and experienced cramps before they became unconscious. A 27-year-old man who fainted at around 9 p.m. was pronounced dead about an hour after he arrived at hospital. According to the sources, no drugs were found on the 4 participants or their friends, but police officers did find small doses of drugs on site, thought to be ecstasy. A day before the show, the organizer of the event made a point on social media, reinstating its zero tolerance for drugs. The West Kowloon Cultural District Authority said it will fully cooperate with the police investigation. One of its board members, Chris Ip, called on tenants to carry out tougher security checks to screen out prohibited items at the venue. While official data shows that drug use in Hong Kong has declined in recent years, a government-backed anti-drug body vowed not to let its guard down.
We would closely observe the drug trend in Hong Kong and adjust our resources. If there is a new trend where in concerts and like youth gathering when drugs is related with entertainment.
A doctor by trade, Zheng also warned of the dangers in mixing substances and alcohol. Elmi Leung, TVB News.
Police returned to Ocean Park to search for clues as to why a man died after visiting a haunted house yesterday. The attraction called Buried Alive is where the 21-year-old was found unconscious yesterday afternoon. He later died in hospital. The Electrical and Mechanical Services Department believes the man was knocked down by mechanical parts that allegedly happened when he entered a mechanical operating area that's off limits to visitors. Authorities have so far ruled out mechanical failure at that theme park.
Well, the man who jumped out of a double-decker bus after he allegedly stabbed a woman to death yesterday remains in hospital tonight. Sources indicated the police couldn't question the suspect as he is still in a coma. The 23-year-old suspect, he is under intensive care at Pamela Yude Nether Seoul Eastern Hospital. The incident happened at about 4 o'clock yesterday when he allegedly stabbed a 20-year-old woman with a knife on the upper deck of a cross-harbor bus in Chaiwan. The woman was confirmed dead on arrival at the hospital. The suspect was said to have been the victim's boyfriend.
Parts of southwestern parts of Japan are facing flight cancellations, train disruptions, and power outages as Typhoon Talim, now weakened to a tropical storm, pounds the southern main island of Kyushu. The storm made landfall early this morning with heavy rain and high winds. Talim is the 18th typhoon of the Pacific season. It grounded hundreds of flights and interrupted rail services, including some bullet train operations. Evacuations advisories were issued for 230,000 people. Forecasters have issued Japan's strongest warnings for heavy rain, flooding, and high waves in the coastal areas of that region. The storm could bring strong winds to Tokyo area tonight.
Police in Malaysia have arrested 7 youths suspected of starting a fire at an Islamic boarding school for boys. The blaze left 23 people dead. Investigators say the fire at the three-story building blocked the only exit and trapped students behind barred windows. 2 adults and 21 teenage students were killed. The suspects, aged 11 to 18, were detained on Friday after investigators viewed security video from a nearby building. Police say 6 of the 7 boys tested positive for drugs. And officials suggested the suspects had allegedly been teased by students at the dormitory but didn't give details. Police say the school was operating without a fire safety permit and license. They say that a dividing wall that was illegally built blocked the victims from a second exit.
To Britain now, where in addition to arresting 1 terror suspect, police also raided a house in their hunt for the London train bomber. This comes as residents admit they fear for their lives in a city hit by too many terror attacks. Authorities have not released the identity of the 18-year-old they arrested in connection with a homemade bomb that sent a fireball wreaking havoc in a packed London subway car on Friday. So far, 30 victims have been treated for injuries. Police believe they nabbed the suspect in the nick of time, just as he was about to flee on a ferry that connects Britain to France. He has not yet been charged.
Local police officers in Kent arrested an 18-year-old man in the departure area of the port of Dover. He was arrested on suspicion of being concerned in the commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism.
Then police evacuated an entire residential street as they search an address in Surrey, hunting for more suspects. Residents complain they're scared out of their minds.
Then had an officer bang on the door quite severely and say, "Come on, out now, you've got 2 minutes." A really scary scene for, what is normally a small, quiet town.
I feel absolutely worried. I just don't want to live here anymore, to be perfectly honest with you.
It's certainly not the sort of area, well, it can happen in any area these days, but yes, it has come as a shock to us all, I think.
Still, officials hailed the arrest as very important towards rounding up others who may have played a role in the country's 5th terror attack this year.
This is a very significant arrest. The police have made very good progress, but the operation is ongoing.
The Home Secretary admits Britain needs to make bomb-making materials scarce.
So we will have to make sure that we take all steps we can to ensure that the sort of materials that this man was able to collect become more and more difficult to combine together.
London's top police officer tried to calm fears, encouraging residents not to give in to the terrorists.
We have a very considerable threat. There's clearly a lot of soul searching that is going on and needs to go on about how we can really reduce this threat to a much, much lower level as soon as we possibly can. But I don't think people should get used to the idea that there will be constant attacks.
The bomb may have failed, but experts believe it had the ability to kill a large number of people.
Because if this was a functioning bomb in a confined space and in a carriage with a crowded number of people, this would have been devastation based on blast and shockwave. Those are the 2 things which killed people.
Like it or not, terror-wrought Britain is forced to live with stepped-up police and security at every turn.
Iraq says it's prepared to intervene militarily if the Kurdish region's planned independence referendum leads to violence. The remarks by Iraq's Prime Minister came ahead of a September 25th vote.
This is a very, very bad move.
A stern warning from Iraq's Prime Minister as the country's Kurdish population gears up for a referendum on support for independence from Iraq. The vote is to be held in the Kurdish Autonomous Region and in disputed areas controlled by Kurdish forces, but which are claimed by Baghdad. The referendum was overwhelmingly approved by the Kurdistan parliament, but it's sending ripples across the wider region. Baghdad says it's illegal.
If you challenge the constitution, and if you challenge the borders of Iraq and the border of the region, this is a public invitation to the countries in the region to violate Iraqi border as well, which is very dangerous escalation.
In an ominous sign of that danger, a car bomb was detonated outside a shop in Kirkuk yesterday. At least 1 person was killed and 10 were injured. The northern Iraqi city is claimed by both the Iraqi and Kurdish governments, but it is currently under Kurdish control. It wasn't immediately clear who carried out the attack. Kurdish leaders hope the referendum will push Baghdad to the negotiating table and create a path for independence. Baghdad says such negotiations would likely be complicated by the referendum vote. Earlier this week, Iraq's parliament rejected the referendum in a vote boycotted by Kurdish lawmakers. The Kurds are also under increasing pressure to call off the vote from regional powers like Turkey, which considers it a matter of national security. Ankara will hold a high-level security meeting next week, and Turkey's president says he will meet with Iraq's prime minister during an upcoming visit to the United States. In a statement, the White House called the referendum particularly provocative and destabilizing.